everybody. I am Leslie Kuster, and welcome to She Rises. I'm so happy you're here today. I am the best-selling author of my book, which is called 7 Keys to 7 Figures, the Women Entrepreneur's Guide to Money and Freedom. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like you need a bit of a kick up the butt or anything like that, go and grab my book. I also have a free resource list for you if you just head over to my website at lesliekuster.com. The resource guide is really cool. It has a lot of like my favorite podcasts, my favorite books. I have even coaches in there that I recommend in different industries. So go and grab your free resource guide as well. I am the CEO of Back from Bali, and that's how I built my business. I manufacture clothing in Bali, Indonesia, and I bring it into the US and I sell it primarily online. So I'm in the e-commerce space here. But what I love to do is I love to highlight other women as well and other women entrepreneurs. Today, I am really excited to bring on Susan Anderson. As some of you know, I have myself been incorporating retreats and kind of getting off the grid for many years. In fact, 33 years. I've been going to a spiritual retreat for 33 years. And in fact, it's where I met Heinz, my husband. And I just returned from my retreat. Susan is amazing. And I'm just going to read you her bio right now, which she wrote, which is Susan Anderson spent the past 17 years trapped indoors, writing, and writing to help her business clients grow. But now she's building Idlewild Woods, a Smoky Mountain retreat center for entrepreneurs. So before I bring her on, I just want to recap that. She was an entrepreneur in the writing field, changed everything, threw everything over the cliff, I like to talk about, and decided to open a retreat center. And so with that, I bring on to the stage Susan Anderson, and I'm so happy you're here, Susan. So tell us, what is Idlewild Woods?
Well, it is the craziest thing I have ever done, Leslie.
That's right. I mean, I listen, before we just start, can I please bow down to you for your courage? Because this took serious courage, and please go on.
Thank you. So a few years ago, after spending 17 years trapped indoors, by my own trapping, I got this crazy vision. And it was, hey, you should build an entrepreneur retreat center in the Smokies. I was like, excuse me, what? Like, I should do what? But this was the thing, and I got this complete download basically as I was on a road trip. I'm like madly taking notes while driving. I was not looking at my notes, so you can imagine how awful they were. But I'm like, okay. Like, came home. I'm like, honey, guess what? Here's what we ought to do. And he's like, wow. He went with it, which is insane, but okay.
Okay, so you're a writer, all right, and a very good writer. I could tell by your bio, by the way. It's just it's like perfect. You're a writer, many years a writer. That's what you did. You were home or you were indoors, and you were writing, copywriting for other people's businesses, right?
Yes.
And you then had this idea, I'm going to start a retreat center. So why would you ever have that idea? Why was that important, do you think?
It just hit me that, like, we spend so much time indoors on screens, and there's that hustle. Like, it's exhausting. I think, back when you started, it was a very male dominated world being in business online. And it was like the role models were hustle, work your face off till you die. You can sleep when you're dead, that kind of thing. And, I was, primarily supporting our family, all that, it was just like, I felt like I needed to always be working. And I was not, I didn't have a VA. I didn't have systems. It was just, I had some writers that were writing with me, but mostly I was doing the stuff. So outside, it was just like, well, that's where my car lives. Like, maybe people say it's good for you to be outside, but I was like, oh, it's hot, buggy, boring. I don't know. And so I didn't do it. And then a few years ago, I read this book by Trevor Blake called 3 Steps, and he talks about how he's built these, multi-million, 9-figure businesses, many of them at the same time, working like 4 hours a day. And by the way, 3 of those hours I was walking my dog, he says. And I was like, really?
Wow. Yeah, I know
I
that book.
know that
It's
book.
called again? What the name?
3 Simple Steps. And so I was like, all right, I, maybe he's got something. I committed to every day for a month, I was going to spend some time outside. And I didn't like it at first. I was like, yep, indeed, hot, buggy, and boring. But I kind of got like curious after a while, and I'd look at a plant. I'm like, can we eat it? Can I make something with it? Can we? And it just kind of like caught. And after a while, I was craving time outside.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think that's what got me. I was like, oh, this is actually really cool to be outside. And I'm getting brilliant ideas for my business. And I'm solving things. It was like working puzzles in my brain as I'm digging in the garden or mowing or whatever outdoor thing. I started calling it my kinetic meditation time. Like,
Yeah. Love it.
yeah, and I was like, oh. And then I remembered back in 2010, I was on a nature retreat that changed my life. And it was in East Texas, of all places. It was fantastic. And I made connections there that, 14 years later, I'm still friends with these people. We've done business together. There were collaborations. It was like, oh, and I think all these pieces just kind of started falling into place. I did this thing called the perfect average day exercise. Frank Kern has one on YouTube. It's like 2 hours long video, but it's worth it. Right? And I did that. And that's like between 3 Simple Steps and my past experience and then that perfect average day thing. I think that's where it all popped out, because I started thinking entrepreneurs on screens way too much. I
Mhm.
know a lot of us, especially a younger generation, they probably weren't raised by people who knew how to garden, take care of animals, take care of land, build stuff. So it just, the wheels started turning. And also we kind of, especially past the pandemic, everybody's kind of isolated. It's like your odds of having somebody in your everyday life who actually understands you and gets what you're doing, this is not likely. So we build these friendships online, but there's so much more when you can be face to face, like unhurried, like sitting at a campfire. And I thought, that is going to be this. And so I'm like, I get chills even in 90-degree weather. Like, it's just, I'm thrilled. I cannot wait. We've had a couple people visit the property, but we're ready to break ground soon on our first guest accommodations. And it's
Okay. So you were living where before?
I was outside of Huntsville, Alabama.
Okay, you're in Alabama. You had this download, which I love that you say that, because sometimes that's what it is, right? It's like we kind of, when we get out of our regular routine and we especially get into nature, where I feel I've always believed like nature and trees, like they literally have a healing power for us. Like there's some energy that's coming off of nature that just heals us. We could walk outside and be, and by the time you finish the walk in nature, you've been calmed down. And I don't believe it's just coming from us. I believe it's actually coming from
I
the
think so.
energy that's out there. So you got the download there that you should go do this amazing thing, like throw your life, your husband, luckily came with you, and you're like, I'm going to open a retreat center, especially for entrepreneurs and for people who really never get outside.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, did you have the money to do this? Because this is
No. No, Leslie, not even close.
not even close. And that, I had a feeling that was going to be your answer, because it's one thing to say, to have like millions in the bank, right? And you're like, I could write on, and I could take in some writing if I needed to or whatever. But I mean, you really, I get chills just talking about it. You like jumped off a cliff following your gut.
Yeah. And some mornings, to be honest, I wake up some morning and I'm like, oh my goodness, how are we going to do this? It's all told, it'll be about a $2 million project.
Wow.
Which I guess in the grand scheme of things, we got a heck of a deal on the land, and like 35 acres, we got it for 175,000, which is
Wow.
insane. like you can't do that anywhere. But it was raw land. So it's like, oh, it costs how much for gravel? Like, what? Like, so all told, I know relative to what it could have cost, it's not so bad. But relative to where we are, it's a lot. So
Absolutely.
I was really blessed. It was crazy. I started talking about it and I was on some podcast kind of toying like, hey, should I do this thing? And I ended up two beautiful, wonderful angel investors came alongside and helped us start buying the property. I was able to raise 60,000 out of 2 million. And, and I figured, all right, once we have something built, maybe that'll be easier to attract more investors who, they were just like, we see your dream. We believe in it. This is awesome. Normal investors are kind of like, I need to see something going.
Yeah.
So we've got different ideas on how we can fund it. But for now, it's like my writing is funding it and our savings. We sold our house, we sold our everything. And it's like, we're all in.
You're all in. Amazing. And again, it's a lesson in I can't because, I mean, most people basically say I couldn't do something like that because I couldn't afford it. I couldn't do something like that because I don't know how to garden. I don't know. I don't know how to write a business plan. I don't know how to get investors. I don't know how to this. I don't know how to that. And by the way, I bet you didn't either. I bet you didn't know how to do any of that, any of it. But like when we have such a strong vision to like do something, it's like anything's possible, right? We're told this all the time. It's all possible. So like, what do you think gave you versus other people, like the courage to do this?
I think the calling was so strong that I couldn't, I remember even talking to my son about it and I'm like, all right, I'm 56. I'm turning 57 in October. And I'm like, this is crazy. He said, Mom, if you don't do it, you're always going to wonder if you should have.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, he's 27. How'd he get so smart? Like, and he
Yeah.
wasn't the only one. Like I kept hearing that and hearing that. I'm like, it's true. And, over the past 20 years, I've known so many entrepreneurs and felt I love them. We solve we take ownership of problems we didn't cause. We come up with beautiful solutions to serve our people. We throw ourselves into this. I'm like, they deserve it. They deserve to have that kind of a respite and the connection and all the things. And I think anytime when I'm like, I just keep imagining like right down there, there's like this lane and I can picture them walking, and I'll be like 50 steps behind. So I can see them. I can't hear them. And they're just like happy. Or somebody's running down the hill. Hey, Sue, I wanted to catch you. Thank you so much for making this. This has, and I chills again. Like, that keeps me going. I know what it's going to be,
So it's so beautiful. So on one hand, you're doing it for yourself and for your own sanity and your own vision, but you're also doing it to help other entrepreneurs. And that's really, and that's kind of your target. That's who you really want to have there is the entrepreneurs, because we are so much behind the screen all the time.
All the time.
So what has like, give me what are you doing there right now? Like, what are you physically building? Like, what's the dream, what's the vision, buildings or animals or products, or what are you doing there?
So when we first got here, like I said, raw land, we put in a metal barn where we're living.
You were living in a metal barn. Amazing.
It's like a Faraday cage. I'm like, okay.
It's like a suitcase. You have like a suitcase in the barn too?
No, we have everything that we own is in the barn as well. We have about 300 square feet that we actually live in. It's a 1,200 square foot barn. So there's building supplies, there's all this kind of stuff. So, and we'd put in a gravel road, a very expensive gravel road.
Just there was no road.
There's nothing, and you can't drive in mud, So that was first. We also had to shore up the land because there's a creek that runs the whole 35 acres. It's gorgeous, but we couldn't have, like, from building the road, there were all these pieces of timber. We had a 900 feet line of timber that we had to clear. So that's firewood. We're good for a couple of years.
You see blessings come in all ways, right?
That's it. So since then, we have like a little sleeping pavilion that we're almost fit. It should be finished tomorrow. Down on the creek, we've called that spot Otter Creek because there's an otter that lives in the creek. And so it's rustic. It's made out of, we have a lot of cedar. We're trying to do everything as gently as we can on the land and like use what's here. So we used cedar, which is kind of invasive, built that structure. It's a deck. It's going to be all frou-frou with, girly, like a mosquito netting thing over the bed and all that. So then in here, I want to put in geodesic domes, which kind of look like an igloo, but then it's got like a wide swath of windows. Gorgeous. You can turn them whatever way is the best view. And so I want to put in like 20 of them here and a meeting space that'll seat about 100 people with a like commercial level kitchen as well. So we can have caterers come in and do the thing there. But then like throughout the hills, we're going to put things like a wood-fired hot tub, a sauna, with cold plunge. Every dome is going to have an outdoor shower as well as, the very nice interior and all this. And I want to do stuff like a walking labyrinth. People go to meditate. You just walk. And then animals. So we're going to have chickens, which I have raised before. That was the only thing I knew how to do. So chickens.
Did I see a donkey somewhere? Like there was this cute little donkey.
We don't have one, but we might end up with, because they're really good guardian animals. We're going to do sheep. And then we're going to do alpacas, which is my favorite thing. Well, actually, my other favorite thing is miniature Highland cows. So that's going to be, over the winter, we'll be creating the fencing from a lot of our cedar. Fencing is also, everything is expensive, Leslie. So we'll be building it, just building the frames for fencing and using chicken wire and electric where it needs to go and all that so that we can be ready to start with animals next year.
And so how are you continuing to finance everything? Because every day there's more and more stuff you need to buy and do and everything.
Every single day it's something. So we are doing pre-sale of stays. Like if people are like, I totally want to be there. I know I want to be there. So I have, a little campaign going on with that, and that's underway. We're probably going to end up having to take out some loans in order to do it, but as well, we can't take out a $2 million loan. The bank would laugh.
No.
They would laugh and laugh and laugh, and then we'll just continue. One thing I was thinking of doing is having like a dome partner. So like, hey, dome partner, they give us, $75,000 to put in a dome that we co-own. So my investors get, they have a percentage as well. So that comes out of my half, but, and we would do it where like we run it for them and they can use it as much as they want. They can promote it. They get to name it. They can tell us how they want it decorated, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. That's sort of like, like owning a bench or something out in the woods.
Yes.
You own an incredible dome instead that you could use.
Exactly. So I was thinking that might be the way to go rather than, attorneys also super expensive, Leslie. It's crazy.
Of course, it all is, but it's all like, it's all coming for you. Like if you imagine 2 years ago or 3 years ago when you had the idea, wasn't it around 3-4 years ago or something?
3 or 4. Yeah.
That you would be even where you are right now, which is totally exciting. How has it been with your husband? Like can I ask that question?
Of course.
Like, honey, we're selling our house. I'm quitting my job and we're doing this. So
he's so special. It's amazing.
Amazing.
So he spent the past 20 years or so building custom classic Volkswagens. He had a nationally known shop, all this kind of stuff. Some weird stuff happened. So it was good timing. He was ready for like a new project. Fortunately, like before that, he was in construction for like 25 years. So he knows, and he's got this crazy, like an engineer brain, but so I'll see him a lot and he's just sitting there. And I'm like, I know that face. He's making something, And so he'll think and think. And then all of a sudden he's like, okay, I know how we're going to catch rainwater now. And we can shower with it and do the garden with that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he'll build like these crazy things. So, and it's so funny because I thought, he's a normal person. He also likes a hot shower and air conditioning. And, but I thought, how is he going to like this? This is crazy. We don't even camp. What the heck are we doing? Every night we sit down in the creek and he goes, "Babe, thank you for dragging me out here."
Wow. Wow, I just love that. I love that. When we like jump off the cliff, I sort of jumped off the cliff, a very different cliff. I jumped off of Switzerland into another country,
Oh,
which is also a jump, but not quite as courageous as what you did. But when you're leaving comfort, I was comfortable. Heinz and I were comfortable. Nice house, nice friends, nice job. But he worked, all of the stuff. And I was like, we're leaving, and we just jumped off our own cliff into the unknown. And you don't know what's going to happen. There's no guarantee of anything, but you kind of know it will be good because you feel it so much
yeah,
and you really want to do it. And then magic happens because what you said earlier, Susan, is that like what your son said, or rather your son said, is like, how are you going to feel if you never do anything like
yeah,
this? And this is the question I believe we have to ask ourselves over and over, right, and over again, is how are you going to feel on your deathbed
yeah,
when you just have been like, well, that was a good idea, but
right.
you know,
Exactly.
and right? Because this is it. This is our time is tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. So I'm just like so impressed with everything you've done and so inspired. And I just want to like ask you, how has it changed you as a person?
Oh, what a great question. Um, I knew it would change me. I just didn't know how. One thing is, when I wake up, especially those mornings where I'm like, oh gosh, like anxious.
Yeah.
I go outside, use the porta potty. And as I'm sitting there contemplating, I go, you know what? I can do hard things. I can. I've done some very physically hard things here. I'll climb up the side of a, steep slope and do whatever, seed with grass so we don't have erosion, whatever, physical feats of wonder. And I'm like, all right, I can do hard things like this. And I know that if this is a calling, there's no way God would call me to do something that I couldn't do.
Love that.
Why? How could he possibly? That's a ridiculous premise that he would do that. So I'm like, I don't know how. I really don't. I am walking by faith and not by sight. And so every day, and I've seen things like we were and chainsaw cutting this long thing of timber. We predicted it based on our progress. We're like, this is going to take 6 months to cut through this thing. My son came out. He started working on it too. All right, maybe 4 months now because he's very strong. Somebody donated a tractor to
Oh.
us, a $30,000 tractor. And I'm
Mm.
like, unbelievable. And now it's done. It was done within 2 months after that. I'm like, this is amazing. So I just because I can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. In some cases, I try to remind myself too. I'm like, I say something because my brain likes to fight with, if I'm like positive affirmations, it goes, So I have to phrase it carefully and I'll say, I'm beginning to believe that everything we're going to need to do this is already here or on its way.
I love that. And we have a really wonderful comment by Stacy Lauren right now, as she wrote, I am walking by faith and not by sight. I love that. Thank you, Stacy, for that. Yeah, I think this is something that we have to remember, is that we think we have to like know what's going to happen, like we need to buy a tractor, but we don't really. When we let go, they all say it, right? You let go, and things just come to you when you do let go, instead of holding on and trying so hard. And you're like the perfect example of this. So I'm so happy to have you on the show today to show other women and anyone listening that, first of all, anything's possible. It's never too late. It has nothing to do with age at all. It's not. You could be 20, you could be 50, you could be 70, or 90, and make huge changes in your life, right? And that with enough of your vision, and kind of like a positive vision too. I mean, look at this vision is bringing in more love, more nature, more everything into your life, your husband's life, your family's life, and everybody who will be lucky enough to come uh, to your retreat. So if you can we're going to just wrap up now and just let everybody know how to find out about Idlewood and to find you and how they can be part of this, or any way to communicate with you and promote what the amazing stuff you're doing.
That's great. So the easiest thing is I have a community called Entrepreneurs Gone Wild, and that's on
Okay.
Facebook, so they can find that. There's also a website, entrepreneursgonewild.com, and I do updates through there. And there are a number of other places, but kind of all roads lead to Rome. So entrepreneursgonewild.com.
Okay. Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. And let's see. And there it is. I just put it up on the screen. So Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. If you just Google that, right?
Yeah, it'll be
They
there.
will find you. And when do you think people can actually start coming?
So the first dome that we're going to do probably will be here in October. We're going to have to, do some construction on that and the interior and all that. So I'm thinking late November, early December, for sure, 2025, but it's coming soon.
Wow, I love it. I love it. Susan, thank you so much. I'm really the best of everything to you and the beauty of this. And I will be there. I will be there to support you too. I would love to come to one of the entrepreneur retreats that you're going to be organizing.
Wonderful.
So well done. And thanks again for being such an inspiration to everybody in the world. I mean, you're just truly, you should be incredibly proud of yourself. And I see in your face, you're just glowing. You're glowing.
It could be sweat.
I love it. Well, it's working, whatever works, right? So thank you again. And thank you everybody for being on She Rises. And we look forward to seeing you the next time, and definitely go check out Entrepreneurs Gone Wild. Thank you so much, Susan Anderson. You're amazing. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.